Hi, my name is Caroline Keson. I'm a water resource specialist here. I'm the coordinator for the WAVE program, which stands for Watershed Action Volunteer Experience. This is probably our newest volunteer program, and it was really born out of a need for small groups. They needed technical resources, and they needed small amounts of money, so maybe a few $1,000s here and there so that they could work on watershed projects. And so we decided, let's see if we can be the coordinator for this sort of thing so that we can involve more groups and always have that technical resource, all those technical resources ready to go. So we got a few grants over the past year, mostly from community foundations and from a couple other foundations, and so I'll talk about that a little bit later. And so all of our teams, we're working in 4 counties right now, and all of our teams are doing projects that are in their neighborhoods, things that they care about. Maybe it's a particular lake, a particular stream, a particular invasive species that they're interested in. They work with their friends, neighbors, their colleagues. And I'm going to show you one of our completed projects. It's a rain garden. And each of these projects requires an educational component. And because this one's exciting, I'm going to show it first. So this is at Soul Springs Rain Garden in Emmet County. So this is north of, just north of Harbor Springs.
My name is Caroline Keson. I work as a water resource specialist at tip of the Mitt Watershed Council in Petoskey, Michigan. We are at Soul Springs Permaculture, just north of Harbor Springs, working on a rain garden through the Watershed Action Volunteer Experience program. It's a program that connects volunteers with technical and financial resources to do watershed enhancement projects. And a rain garden is going to be good for Little Traverse Bay because it will filter runoff from the house before it enters the bay, and so all the sediments and any pollutants will be cleaned out before it enters groundwater. So we have Chris Leifson from Wildflowers, and then Cam from Soul Springs Permaculture, and then occasionally we have other volunteers working with us too.
I'm Cam Offenhauser, and we're here at a recycled, repurposed rescue house, what we call it, but it's an off-grid house that we're sort of building a foundation that is ecological around, and the opportunity kind of came to us to have and demonstrate a rain garden, and as a host of like a bunch of different ecologically inspired demonstrations and moving into the ability to educate around it, we were really open to it and excited to do that, and especially because it's a great opportunity to collaborate, connect with the community.
My name is Chris Leifson, and I'm the owner of Wildflowers Nursery. The real importance of these rain gardens is that we're filtering runoff, preventing erosion, but directing that water through the sand as a filter before it gets to our precious lakes. I'm drawn to this because the focus of my business is creating habitats. You know, gardening, sure, that's what I do. That's what people call it, but creating habitats is what I really like to do, and so there's a lot of work involved. It's not a normal garden. You have to get into the earth, and you also have to create and direct the water flow. You can never overlook the benefit of beautifying an area. That's the biggest reason for sure.
5 Mile Creek is one of the most pristine creeks in northern Michigan, and it's a reference creek for other similar streams, which means that we can compare the streams together to see relatively which one is the best, and 5 Mile is basically the gold standard for creeks of its size up here. This project is funded by the Petoskey-Harbor Springs Community Foundation with help from the Frye Family Foundation.
Okay, so there's their educational piece. In that video, it is going to have a few things added to it, like the final shot of the rain garden, and then I want to get a shot of 5 Mile Creek too, so you can kind of see what we're protecting with them. So there's a couple other teams in each county. So Soul Springs is up here in Emmet County, and then the first one to actually be completed was Petoskey Noon Rotary. So they came to us and we kind of gave them a list of projects and said, hey, which one of these do you want to do? And they decided pet Waystations, which is a really easy project because all we had to do is buy the stations, get the city's permission, and then put them up. And so the idea of this one is to protect Little Traverse Bay by picking up dog waste, which then keeps E. coli out of the lake and other water bodies. And so we worked with the city of Petoskey, who actually put in a couple $100s onto this project too, so we were able to use that as match. And they had some of their maintenance people come out and pick out where they wanted these stations, and we put 2 in Curtis Park, which is west of the Bear River. And that area, that was actually something the residents really wanted, so we were able to hit that too. It was actually in the City of Petoskey's recreation plan, so we can kind of pull from those plans and see what our cities and communities concerned about, and then we can engage volunteers to actually tackle those projects that people want. And these projects do matter and they are significant. So they put in for a tour on the Greenway, tour in Curtis Park. So here's the other one. Here's a couple on the Greenway. And then the third project in Emmet County is at Boyne Country Sports. So there are a couple neighbors that live behind the Boyne Country Sports building. It's right on US 31. They're only a block away from the water. So this is Boyne Country Sports, and this is the highway, and then this is Lake Michigan. And the neighbors right here, Kevin and Marcia, they found out about the program and they said, hey, we've seen those rain gardens in Bayview. Can we get one of those on our street? We'll take care of it. Can you help us? And so it took us a couple months, honestly, to figure out where we were going to put a rain garden in this neighborhood. So at first we tried at the end of the street, which had some right-of-way concerns, and the city had concerns with access. We thought about doing something at the Bahnhof right here. And they were interested, but they were like, oh, we have a smaller parking lot. See if Boyne Country Sports will do it. So we actually approached Boyne Country Sports, a huge national corporation. Going through some of their permissions took us a while, but we were able to work with Gary Ray, who is a construction manager. He manages all their projects, and he's been very helpful, and they have given us permission to do a wave rain garden right in the forefront of their parking lot, right there. And we noticed that their parking lot, it has an outlet that is basically, it's filled with sediment, so we know that the rain garden is going to collect water. It's going to be helpful. And the parking lot, the spaces, you can't even really use them for cars. There's a weird curvature, and so I think it's going to be a good project. Boyne Country Sports can show off that they're environmentally friendly. The neighbors are engaged in protecting the water, and then Bahnhof Sport is also going to provide some volunteers. So that's going to be a really good one. And then, of course, because it's right on the highway and Little Traverse Wheelway, we'll have some really good signage there. That one will hopefully get a lot of exposure. And this one is also, because it's a bigger project, we're going to combine some funds from one of our other grants, Project Rain Garden, which is creating rain gardens in the city of Petoskey. So this is going to be a bigger project than all the other ones that we have going on right now. So now we're going to move to Charlevoix. So these are all paid for by the Community Foundation in Charlevoix. First is we're actually going to be working with a Boy Scout troop and a robotics team to put storm drain markers in Charlevoix and East Jordan. So again, to do that, I presented a list of options because they said that they wanted to do a project, and then we asked the cities and said, hey, do you want us to mark your storm drain? So I'm going to pass out these little storm drain markers so that you can feel them. It's basically kind of like a little sticker, but it's pretty heavy duty, and then just use the glue to put it at a storm drain. And the idea is, it says don't dump anything down here because it's going to go into the nearest water body. So it's really an educational tool. It's not a best management practice or anything. It's just to remind people, if you're going to be dumping something, don't do it here. This is all connected. So that's a great project for them. It's an easy project too. It's cheap. Let's see. And so the Boyne Valley Lions Club, they're going to be doing the same thing in Boyne City. So eventually we're going to have all 3 big cities around Lake Charlevoix are going to have that educational component there. And it does take the time to put those storm drain markers out there, so it's great to have a couple of really big groups, honestly. I mean, that's probably 30 people that are going to be out there putting these storm drain markers in. So those things are going to happen this spring, hopefully. And the third project is the Lake Charlevoix Association. So they're going to have some signage. They have been really active in using everything that they've learned over the years from different programs from the Watershed Council and then different programs in Michigan. And so right now they're working on creating a demonstration garden in Boyne City to show what are the best ways to protect your lake in terms of what does your shoreline look like. So they've come up with all these different contractors, all these landscapers to put in different landscape ideas, and so that hopefully people will be able to use them in their own yards or contact with these landscapers and say, hey, can you do that at my house because I want to protect Lake Charlevoix. So the cool thing about WAVE is we don't have a lot of money, but we have enough to supplement bigger projects like these. And so for this one, we're actually doing some educational signage at either side of the green belt. It's about, I think it's like 600 feet long or something. So it's a pretty big green belt. And so the idea is that when people look at it, they're going to understand what they're seeing and why they can use this. And so I'll show you that signage here in a minute. So we now have funding in 2 other counties. So Antrim and Cheboygan are also in our service area. And so right now we don't have any projects in either of these. They're just getting off the ground. Antrim is likely going to have probably a green belt, a rain garden enhancement, and then we're looking at getting some educational invasive species ID cards for a group of people too. And there is a little bit of money left there, so if you know anyone in Antrim County who needs a project, let me know. And Cheboygan is just starting. The press release just went out, I think this week, or it will. So that's going to be a project that lasts all year. And so in Antrim County, we're working with the Dole Foundation, and Cheboygan County is actually the Wireless Zone Foundation for Giving, which is Verizon Wireless's charitable arm. So the cool thing about this project is that we're really hitting some of those corporations like Boyne USA and Verizon, and so they're involved too. So it's pretty good to hit a bunch of different kinds of partners. So overall, right now we have 11 teams. Almost $40,000 in funds committed. We're working with a variety of foundations, and then Project Rain Garden is committing some funds too. So you can see it's a very well balanced wheel. We have a little bit of money pending from the Straits Area Community Foundation, which will hopefully fund another team in Cheboygan County. And then we also have a lot of match, so $36,000 worth of match. These are all the different partners that we've worked with. Some of them are contributing money, some are contributing their property or their permissions. All of them are contributing their volunteer time, because that's really what this program is about. And then sometimes equipment and other things that they can contribute. So in terms of the amount of money we're able to leverage, it's about a 1-to-1 match in terms of, so for every $1 that we have, we're able to get another $1 from the community out of that. So these are the 4 counties that our program is available in. And then the other thing I want to point out is just how this overlaps with our existing work. So we also do a lot of research and watershed management and protection. And we have a variety of DEQ-approved watershed management plans. So these are huge plans that identify all the water quality issues in a watershed, and then they also have tasks. How can you make these problems better? And so we can actually pick out some of those tasks and guide WAVE teams towards them, or sometimes their projects are already hitting some of those tasks. So this is the Elk River Chain of Lakes watershed down here in yellow. That one is not approved yet. Lake Charlevoix watershed plan, Little Traverse Bay watershed plan, Burt Lake watershed plan, and then Duncan Grass Bay up in Cheboygan. So out of all of our WAVE teams, most of them are, whether they know it or not, they're actually also working within these watershed management plans. And so we can actually, put all those things together and show WAVE teams are actually helping to protect the waters on a larger scale. It really is not just their neighborhood, it's over our entire service area and then, entire watersheds. So I just want to talk a little bit about rain gardens. Chris kind of explained that a little bit, but I just wanted to show a diagram of what that looks like on a cross section. So the idea at Soul Springs is they have a house over here, and then there was a little gutter that would take the water into a little depression. And so basically the water kind of sits in that depression for a little bit, and then it slowly soaks into, so we don't have stormwater runoff. We don't have standing water either, and the plants will soak up some of that water too, so it's a great way to filter water before it goes into a larger water body. So the other thing that's happening at Soul Springs, they're actually going to be putting in a rain catchment system under their deck to add more water to the rain garden. And so this one, we don't even have the supplies for it yet, but it's actually pretty simple. It's basically like a bunch of sheet metal that you install at a slope under the deck, so you have a dry area under the deck, and then you just attach gutters, and then that goes down into the rain garden. So this one, the Soul Springs rain garden is done, but they're also able to add this catchment basin or catchment system because they were able to leverage so many funds. We had stuff left over, and so we can make theirs a bigger project. Here's the storm drain markers. One of our teams is also going to be doing these. I think they're called filter socks around storm drains, and they actually keep all of the trash out of drains, and they can also keep different particulates. You can get ones that pick up metals or pick up sediment, so we're looking at getting some of those for Boyne City as well. And then back to the signage. So I just wanted to show you some examples of what the signs would look like. They're probably going to be more like these ones down at the bottom. And so here's what the ones at Lake Charlevoix are going to look like. They have a watershed map, they have a diagram of different plants, and they also have a little information about the different landscapers. So we'll have contact information down there so that you can look at it, write down the landscaper's number, and go from there and hopefully get some work done on your property. That's good for Lake Charlevoix. Hopefully other watersheds too. Okay, so this is the one that's going in at the, I didn't talk about this one. There's a nature preserve on the Boyne River that is maintained by the Friends of the Boyne River. They kind of got it going in the beginning, and they realized we have this great trail and this great wetland, but no one knows what this river is, no one knows what a wetland even is. And so they saw WAVE as an opportunity for them to enhance the educational experience at their Boyne River nature area. And so this one, I worked with Friends of the Boyne to decide, what they wanted on it. So we have a diagram of a wetland, different plants and animals that you might find, what are the benefits. And then this one is also probably going to have some additional signage with birds and different animals in the wetlands that you'll be able to walk through and get more of an interpretive experience rather than just, oh, nature's cool. So it's definitely more educational. And that, I think, is all I have. I explained all the teams and all their different things. You guys have any questions or comments?
I have a question.
Sure.
So, is the Watershed Council going to seek dollars to sustain the program long term, or will we just try to integrate it into other programming?
That's a good question. Right now I'm looking at other grant sources. I have not been able to find any that are huge, that could sustain this for a couple of years. There's a couple ideas out there. One is to keep going after small pots of money as the Watershed Council. Another idea is to help those small groups go after small amounts of money, because then you have a different group applying every time, and so that that could very well get more dollars into the program. And so it would probably be for project costs, but we would still want to find staff time costs, and because some of our technical resources include all of the graphic design work. Pretty much all the educational stuff is all done in-house, and so we want to be able to pay for that stuff too. Good question.
The storm drain marking,
Uh-huh.
will that be done in the different communities? Do the different communities know that the other community is doing it?
That's a good question. I don't think they do.
Okay.
But that's a good question. Maybe I should contact all of them. So we had to get permission from all the city managers. And some of them already do have their drains marked they're just installed like that. And so this would be mostly going on the drains that aren't on the main streets, and then maybe a little more secondary. So yeah, but that's a good comment, is to make sure that all the cities know.
Sure.
What are some projects that you want to see happen in the near future?
Wow, I think I would like to see more people going out and actually monitoring and taking water samples if they have a problem, because I think that's kind of been something that's missing from WAVE so far. It is mostly just management, but there's really no okay, we have this question, we want to answer it. And so I kind of would like to see maybe a little more science-based stuff, like shoreline surveys or collecting water samples. So it's an area we haven't hit yet. Well, thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you. Wonderful program.